Welcome to week 26. Today we're going to be starting some new stuff, so we won't do as much today. We're not going to do any sight reading, and instead we will be focusing on changing our rhythm warm-up to include 16th notes, and then we'll be exploring the minor 7th sound today, and that includes its accompanying scale, the Dorian mode. All right, so let's go ahead and get started by diving in to 16th notes. Before we talk about 16th notes, I want to remind you of one of the things that we talked about back when we were first learning about downbeats and upbeats. And that was, instead of thinking about the left brain of how a downbeat and an upbeat come right after each other and they're half of each other's value and all of that, when it comes to playing them, we need to know how they feel, okay, and what purpose they're serving to accentuate the beats, right? And so we talked about how an upbeat that comes before a downbeat would have an anticipatory feeling, like taking a step before you jump, and 1, and 2. You're accentuating those downbeats by taking a step on the upbeat before you land onto the downbeat. And then conversely, we would have an upbeat that comes after a downbeat, and we call that the rebound, okay? It literally feels like a bounce. 1 and 2 and. I would argue you don't even have to play those because gravity will do the work for you if you just allow your hands or your drumsticks to bounce once after the initial strike. 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? And so the same is true with this anticipation and rebound idea in the realm of 16th notes. Except now, if we look at this new diagram, we can see that the downbeat and the upbeat are now considered strong beats, right? Whereas before the downbeat was strong and the upbeat was just a decoration of the upbeat. Well, now we're decorating downbeats and we're decorating upbeats. They are both strong. So we have more possibilities for rebounds. You can have a rebound right off of the 1, and it's in fact even quicker. 1E, 2E, 3E, right? Or we could have a rebound off of the and with the okay? So we could have the and. Now you'll notice that, of course, we are counting our downbeats with numbers and our upbeats with ands, and for the first 16th note in between there, we call that the E, and for the last 16th note, we call that the Now normally these will all be beamed together, but this diagram is kind of showing, you know, how the E and the are actually lesser notes than the downbeat and the upbeat, or the 1 and the and, right? So as we are reading through the combinations of 16th notes, we don't want to think too left brain about it. One mistake I see people making a lot when they're trying to play 16th notes is to very clearly be thinking 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and, right? And it's too much. It's too much work for your brain to have to do because rhythm is all about feeling. It's not about thinking too hard, all right? And so as we take a look at these combinations of 16th notes, we want to think of them as either rebounds, 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 or anticipations, 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 right? Also, in this new world, the downbeat and the upbeat are strong beats, right? And notice how the it can also anticipate the downbeat that's going to come next, right? So sometimes we think that that is the end of the line, but as you'll see in our combination of 16th notes, it's actually got a job of anticipating and connecting the whole pattern together on the downbeat, okay? These are the first 8 combinations of 16th notes that we are about to take a look at over at the drum, but just to clarify here, we actually can notice if we look at the first combination, if you think about 16th notes as having 4 places within a beat, right? The 1 E and well then if we just activate the very first 16th note in that pattern, well that's just the downbeat, okay? And conversely, we know that the upbeat is also part of the 16th note scheme. So today we will not be playing the first or the third combination because we already know all about downbeats and upbeats, and where we will start is by looking at the E and the and then over on this side we will actually have two note combinations, okay? When you are looking at these, okay, we're about to do all the right brain of how they feel, but let's talk about the left brain for just a moment, okay? You really want to be able to sort of see where the whole beat is for each of these. It can be tricky to identify, am I looking at an E, am I looking at a, how do you identify that? In this case, I have circled all of the major beats, so everything within each of these circles is a beat. And you can notice how each of these has a very small rest, a 16th note rest in fact. And so because there's only one tiny 16th note rest and then this very long note, we can think of it as coming in, this note comes in on the E, and that's how you can identify that as an E. If you want to see the opposite of that, we take a look at the Us, okay? So looking down here, we have our full beat, we have our full beat, we have our full beat, but we can notice now that within our circle, the note is coming at the very last possible place that it could be within the 4/16th note scheme. And therefore, we have the right? And we also have a pretty big rest, a pretty big, not just an 8th note rest, but a dotted 8th note rest, right? So we do want to think through these things with our left brain and know that. But ultimately, it's so that we can try to identify them pretty quickly and then apply the correct feeling to each one of these things as either an anticipation or a rebound. So let's go ahead and talk about how to feel these as anticipations and rebounds at the drum. Let's put our hands on the first 8 combinations of 16th note. Now we don't need to look at the first combination because that's simply the downbeat. And we also don't need to look at the third combination because those are upbeats, right? Both of those are contained in the 16th notes. We are going to start with number 2, which is the E. Now this E is standing all by itself, okay? And so we can think about that as an anticipation or a rebound. I am going to imagine it as a rebound because that's what comes naturally to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this 2 times and we're just going to say it and play it as an inflection, okay? You can try to keep a steady tempo if you want. It's not as important as just saying it and feeling that E coming right off of the downbeat, all right? Then we're going to add the metronome and read it 2 more times. The metronome will be the upbeat. So we will count the downbeat, we will play the E, and then we will hear the metronome, but we'll get there in just a moment. Let's go ahead and just play and say. Number 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Excellent, just like that, okay? So do that until you get comfortable with it. And as soon as you feel it lock in and you don't have to always say it and you can just do it by feeling, then we add the metronome, okay? So like I said, the metronome is now gonna be at 45. It's gonna be the upbeat, and we will still count the downbeats out loud. It's very important that you count your downbeats out loud when you're doing these combinations because you can get lost if you don't do that. Count the downbeat, play the rhythm, and hear the metronome on the upbeat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we have it. I played it 4 times. I would suggest playing it as many times as you need. Loop it over and over until it becomes comfortable. Moving along to number 4, we are going to do the Us now, okay? Now, just like the E's, you can imagine Us when they are all by themselves. You can imagine them as being either an anticipation or a rebound. When they stand alone like this, I prefer to think of them as a rebound off of the upbeat, okay? So let's practice saying and playing this before we add the metronome to it. I'm gonna think of this as rebounding and simply coming off of each upbeat, okay? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right? Exactly. So you're going to want to do that as many times as it takes to where you feel comfortable, and then try putting it with the metronome, all right? So again, the metronome will be at 45 BPM. It's going to be the upbeat. We will count the downbeat, and then we will play the Us. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Piece of cake, right? Now, here's the thing. Hopefully that doesn't give you too much trouble, but sometimes playing these standalone E's or Us can actually be the most difficult of all of these combinations. What we're going to do now in 5 through 8 is we're going to add a 2-note combination, right? So now we're going to be doing 2 16th notes next to each other. All right, now this actually will tell you whether it is an anticipation or it is a rebound, and therefore that makes that much easier. So we're going to be looking at number 5, and this is a 1E, and so this will definitely be the E rebounding off of the downbeat. This is a rebound. Let's go ahead and play and say that, okay? So we're going to go 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 1E, 2E and 3E and 4E and, right? I honestly wasn't even playing the E. My sticks were just bouncing 1E, right? Gravity can do the work for you. So now let's go ahead and put that back with the metronome. Still at 45. Metronome is still the upbeat. We're counting the downbeats. Here we go. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. Okay, now I think you can see what we're doing here. We're just scooching them over one at a time, right? So number 6, we're still going to be looking at the E, but now it's coming before the upbeat, okay? So now our E is anticipating the upbeat, all right? So let's say and play that. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. I'm kind of moving forward because I'm feeling like I'm anticipating those upbeats, right? Taking the step before the jump. Let's give that a try with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. All right, only a couple left. Number 7 is pretty easy, the anda, okay? So this is going to be a rebound off of the upbeat. Let's say and play number 7. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a, 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. There we go. You can let gravity do all that work for you. Let's go ahead and take a listen with the metronome. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and a. There we have it. Okay, now let's take a look at number 8. Now at first it looks like there's a wide space between these, but as you can see, if you look from beat to beat, you'll notice that the is coming right before each downbeat. So what we're really doing here is we are anticipating the downbeat, okay, with an So let's practice playing and saying. This is also a pretty good rhythm to know, because this is a lot of times when people notate swing rhythms, they use this dotted eighth 16th note rhythm. All right, let's practice playing and saying it. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, right? And a lot of times people forget that last because it is an anticipation, but you don't actually get to play the downbeat after that. Let's put it together with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4. There we have it. Got that last at the end there, okay? So when you practice this alone, make sure that you take as long as you need on each one of these shapes, okay? There's not that many of them, and what we want to be able to do more or less is be able to see each one of these and immediately respond with some sort of anticipation or rebound, okay, as we start to get more complex and incorporate these into our two-handed exercises that we've been doing throughout this series. Let's get started with minor sevenths. Now for a minor seventh, we'll be adding a flat third to all of our chords, all right? So in addition to the flat 7 that we already have left over from our dominant, we will be adding the flat third. And we know from working with triads that when you flat the third, you have a minor, okay? So a minor chord with a flat 7 on top of it is your minor seventh sound. Today, we will be doing our minor seventh drill, the same as we did with major 7 and dominant 7, with C, G, and D minor 7. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at which mode matches with the minor seventh, and that is the Dorian mode. Here is our major modes table, all right, written out in the key of C. We are familiar with the Mixolydian mode now. We've been through that in all 12 keys. We're familiar with the Ionian, or the major scale, and we're also familiar with the Aeolian, which is the relative minor. So today we'll be adding a different kind of minor, and that is the Dorian minor, okay? And so the formula, it's very similar to the Mixolydian formula for the Dorian scale, is for X key, you would say that X is the ray, or the second scale degree, right, of scale Y. And then you would play from X to X in the key of scale Y. And as an example, I chose A flat minor 7, A flat minor 7. And so you would say to yourself, A flat is the ray of G flat. And therefore, you would play from A flat to A flat in the key of G flat, all right? So that is the Dorian formula. And remember, you can obtain all of these charts at my website, pianodojo.com. But let's go ahead and put these on the keyboard. We'll start today with our C minor 7. Remember, if you derive this all the way from the major 7, here we have our Do, Mi, So, and Ti. For dominant, we flatted the 7th. And now, we will be playing the flat third in the middle there, and we get the minor 7th sound. Let's practice those inversions with our right hand. Let's do it with our left hand. Let's do hands together, one chord. All right, let's think Dorian. So C is the re of B flat. So the B flat scale has 2 flats, E flat and B flat, and those are the 2 flats that we need for this chord. So we'll play the chord in our left hand and the Dorian scale in our right hand. Again, we'll put the chord in our right hand, we'll play in the key of B flat, but from C to C in our left hand. Perfect. All right, let's check out G minor. So we have the 1, the flat 3, the 5, and the flat 7. Let's invert that with our right hand. Let's practice inverting that in our left hand. Let's do one hand, or 2 hands, 1 chord. Now let's think Dorian here, okay? So G is the re of F, okay? So our F major has 1 flat, and that's B flat, and that's exactly what we need for this chord. So we'll now play in that key, but between G and G, okay? So let's try that out. Left hand chord, right hand scale. Hear how nicely that fits together? Let's try it switched up. And finally today we'll be looking at D minor 7. All right, this is a nice all white key shape for us. Doing our right hand inversions. Let's try our left hand. We'll do 1 chord with both of our hands. And then, this is going to be very easy, D is the re of C, all right? And so we're going to play the C major scale, all white keys, but we're going to start on D and end on D, and put our chord in our left hand. Here we go. Oh yeah, that sounds very nice. Let's put our chord in our right hand and the scale in our left hand. To wrap things up, next week we'll be taking a look at the second 8 combinations of 16th note, all right? We'll continue our minor 7th drill with the Dorian scale, and then we'll get back into sight reading and see how the minor seventh interacts with the world of music. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to be looking at some bossa nova, the very first time in this series that we've talked about Latin music. So that's coming up next week. Stay tuned, and until next time, happy practicing.